The procedural dust won't settle for weeks. Prosecutors plan to call at least 2 more insiders, former partygoers who say they witnessed drug-fueled gatherings and coercion firsthand. Their testimony could reinforce Cassie's narrative or expose inconsistencies. On the other side, the defense teases surprise character witnesses, longtime collaborators prepared to testify about Combs' generosity, philanthropy, and sterling reputation in the music industry. These are heavy hitters, names that jurors recognize, people whose credibility could shift the balance. Meanwhile, Judge Subramanian is slated to rule on key motions any day: whether disputed text messages are admissible, if certain security camera angles qualify as evidence, and whether today's folder drop violated discovery rules. Each decision narrows what jurors can consider, so both teams are scrambling to file last-minute briefs. Jury selection is complete. Once these witnesses finish, closing arguments could begin as early as July. That's when jurors retreat behind closed doors, sifting through every exhibit, from the surprise folder ambush to Cassie's raw testimony, to render a verdict. Guilty or not guilty, their decision will hinge on how they weigh powerful human stories against procedural maneuvers. After closing statements, deliberations could last days or even weeks. When the verdict finally drops, it will reverberate far beyond this Manhattan courtroom, setting new precedents for how high-profile cases handle evidence, shaping future Talk Me Too claims, and redefining the line between celebrity and accountability. This trial is more than a legal contest. It's a cultural turning point. We've seen surprise exhibit ambushes, gut-wrenching testimony, and a PR war waged in real time. We've watched rumors swirl, some baseless, others with potential teeth, and seen both sides jockey for narrative control. When jurors finally lock themselves away, they won't just weigh facts. They'll decide whether fame still grants immunity, or if power and celebrity must answer to the same rules as everyone else. They'll ask themselves, do these exhibits paint a complete picture? Does Cassie's account hold up under scrutiny? Was the defense's surprise tactic fair or a desperate gambit? No matter the outcome, one thing is clear: this case has rewritten the playbook for high-stakes trials. From the moment those 4 unmarked folders hit the bench to the hushed rumors in the corridors, we've witnessed how modern justice unfolds under the glare of social media and 24/7 commentary. Stay with us as this saga continues, because in the end, it's not just about one man, one survivor, or one courtroom. It's about whether our institutions can rise above spectacle and deliver justice that truly balances power with truth. What if, moments after you take your seat in a packed Manhattan courtroom, a defense lawyer slides 4 secret folders across the bench, live, on air, and without warning? That's exactly the gambit that turned today's Sean Diddy Combs federal hearing into an all-out spectacle. Outside the U.S. District Courthouse in Lower Manhattan, where cameras swirled, whispers rippled through the gallery, and Judge Subramanian's patience finally snapped. From the moment proceedings began, you could feel the tension crackling in the air. Reporters jockeyed for position behind the defense table, while members of the public craned their necks to catch a glimpse of the man at the center of it all. Then, bam! 4 unmarked folders appeared, thrust into prosecutors' hands mid-cross-examination. The judge pounded his gavel, calling it a dirty trick, and demanded to know why these exhibits hadn't been produced weeks ago. But this surprise ambush was more than just courtroom theater. It was a high-stakes gamble with everything on the line. Diddy faces 5 federal counts: racketeering conspiracy, trafficking, forced labor, among others, that carry a potential life sentence. His defense team insisted Rule 16 permits last-minute disclosures, while prosecutors argued the jurors deserved transparent, orderly evidence, not an ambush that could sway their deliberations unfairly. As the bickering over procedure reached a fever pitch, every pair of eyes in the room tracked the folder handoff, wondering, was this a stroke of legal genius? Or the kind of reckless move that backfires spectacularly? Because if there's one thing you learn at trials like this, it's that surprises can redefine the narrative in an instant. Stick around, because what happened next, Cassie Ventura's own unfiltered account, turned this from a debate over documents into something deeply personal. In a moment, you'll hear how her testimony peeled back the veneer of celebrity and revealed a story of coercion and survival that no folder full of exhibits can capture. But first, let's set the stage with the charges and stakes that underpin this extraordinary trial. The charges and stakes: Sean Diddy Combs isn't in that courtroom for a simple traffic violation. He's staring down 5 grave federal counts, each carrying decades behind bars. At the heart of the government's case is racketeering conspiracy. Prosecutors allege that beginning as early as 2001, Combs orchestrated a network of enforcers who used violence and intimidation to protect his business interests and control women. Beyond racketeering, the indictment includes trafficking and forced labor charges. According to court documents, Combs purportedly recruited or coerced young women, some out of fear, others through manipulation, to provide commercial acts under threat of retaliation if they refused. There are allegations of forced participation in drug-fueled gatherings, then being monitored to ensure compliance. Each count carries its own maximum prison term. Racketeering conspiracy can mean life. Trafficking up to 30 years, forced labor up to 20 years, and those sentences can stack. Prosecutors have already introduced damning exhibits: surveillance footage of a 2016 beating, financial records tracing large cash payments to associates, and witness statements detailing late-night freak-off parties. They aim to show a consistent pattern of abuse and control spanning years. Diddy has pleaded not guilty. His defense team insists these allegations are completely unfounded and argue many purported victims were willing participants who fabricated stories for attention or financial gain. They've filed motions to exclude certain evidence, claiming it's prejudicial and irrelevant under federal rules. And they maintain that abrupt exhibit disclosures like today's folder ambush are lawful under Rule 16, which governs pretrial evidence exchanges. Yet, with no bail granted, Combs remains in a federal detention center, cut off from his usual empire. His legal team faces a monumental task: dismantle the government's narrative piece by piece, challenge every exhibit, and humanize their client in front of jurors primed by shocking headlines. For prosecutors, it's a chance to test the limits of power and celebrity. And for Diddy, it's arguably the biggest gamble of his career. Lose here, and the ripple effects could redefine accountability in entertainment. But win, and he might reclaim his spotlight. You might recall when R&B singer Cassie Ventura turned the music world upside down with her Me Too lawsuit under New York's Adult Survivors Act. Back in August 2023, she filed civil claims alleging years-old abuse by Sean Diddy Combs. Accusations she said she'd buried out of fear and silence. That one action did more than make headlines. It opened a one-year window for any adult survivor in the state to bring forward similar claims, no matter how long ago the abuse occurred. Within weeks, a parade of additional accusers stepped forward, emboldened by Cassie's courage and the statute's unique timing. What began as a civil suit quickly morphed into federal charges when prosecutors in Manhattan recognized patterns that potentially violated racketeering and trafficking laws. Suddenly, a legislative tool designed to give survivors their day in court became the spark that ignited this full-scale criminal prosecution. Cassie's lawsuit introduced key evidence, text messages, photographs, and witness affidavits that prosecutors later used to obtain grand jury indictments. Her civil attorneys had flagged surveillance footage from a Miami hotel and depositions describing Combs' so-called freak-off parties. Those documents formed the backbone of the government's racketeering allegations. For Combs, the strategy backfired spectacularly. What he once thought were private matters became public record, fueling grand jury subpoenas and arrest warrants. His defense now fights on two fronts: defending against the civil claims in state court while simultaneously battling felony charges in federal court. This dual-track legal storm means each new development in the civil case reverberates through the criminal trial. Every deposition, every discovery motion, every court ruling adds ammunition for one side or the other. And jurors in the federal case are swamped with evidence that began life in a civil lawsuit. In short, Cassie's decision to sue under that one-year window didn't just challenge Diddy's brand, it upended decades of public image management, transformed a private battle into a public spectacle, and laid the foundation for the high-stakes trial unfolding before our eyes. The first day of witness accounts hit like a freight train. A hotel security manager took the stand and described in chilling detail the 2016 beating caught on surveillance. Terrified staff rushing in as Diddy allegedly struck Cassie Ventura again and again in the hallway. "I've never seen anything like it," the manager admitted, voice trembling, eyes cast downward. Next, a paid insider, bound by a confidentiality agreement, yet sworn before this court, recounted those infamous freak-off parties. Picture this: late-night gatherings where young women were plied with drugs, then told they either performed for the star or faced ejection. Free champagne, designer clothes, an unspoken threat. You don't want to disappoint him. The contrast between luxury and fear was stark. Every juror leaned forward, silent as each detail spilled out. By the time the defense attorney rose to ask routine questions, the courtroom felt frozen. No coughs, no shuffling papers. A single juror inhaled audibly, betraying the shock that rippled through the room. And just when you thought they'd reached the apex, the defense dropped its surprise. 4 unmarked folders slammed onto the bench mid-cross. The judge's gavel cracked like thunder. "This is a dirty trick," he barked. Why hadn't these exhibits been shared weeks ago? Prosecutors argued, Rule 16 demands transparency and adequate time for vetting. Jurors deserve a fair view of evidence, not a hasty ambush. The defense countered that last-minute disclosures are legal under the same rule. Attorneys from both sides whispered frantically. Cameras panned to every reaction. That explosive moment didn't just reshape the day's tone, it set the stage for something far more personal. Cassie's own testimony, where headlines and legal debates would give way to her lived experience. Stick around, because what comes next will pull you deeper into a story no folder can contain. When Cassie Ventura finally took the stand, the courtroom felt as if someone had flipped a silent switch. No rustling papers, no nervous throat clearings, just her steady breathing and the click of recording devices. She described being lured into a Miami hotel suite with promises of a casual late-night gathering, only to wake hours later disoriented. Her vision blurred from drugs slipped into her drink. "I felt trapped," she whispered, voice trembling. "It wasn't the night I agreed to." She detailed how Combs handed her a script. Questions to ask escorts. "Are you law enforcement?" Ensuring his image remained untarnished at the expense of her dignity. Jurors leaned in as she recounted that chilling routine, every word a dagger. To the veneer of celebrity glamour, then came the hardest admission. Resistance. "I tried to fight back," Cassie said, eyes glistening. "I threw a punch. I shoved him." The room held its breath. She paused, searching her memory. He got angrier. So much angrier. Like I'd challenged his authority. Surveillance footage later shown confirmed the aftermath. Bruises blossoming across her skin, her fear palpable in every frame. A juror dabbed at their eye. The judge's pen stilled. Even seasoned attorneys looked away. This wasn't legal theory. It was raw, human trauma laid bare. And when Cassie finished, stepping down with shoulders shaking, the tension crackled like static. That testimony did more than reinforce the exhibits. It transformed every folder, every transcript, into more than documents. It made them witnesses themselves. What judges call evidence became a story of coercion, survival, and the fragility of consent under power. But as Cassie walked off the stand, the battle shifted beyond these walls. Outside, social feeds lit up. Influencers dissected her every gesture. And backstage, both sides scrambled to shape the aftermath. Next, we'll dive into the PR war that turned courtroom drama into a 24/7 media frenzy. Inside the courtroom, every word felt seismic. But outside, the real war was fought in tweets, Instagram stories, and slick press releases. Diddy's camp mobilized instantly. A curated photo of him in a yellow crew-off neck, the color of the season, they insisted, circulated alongside quotes about due process and unfounded allegations. Their official statement called Cassie's account one-sided and urged the public to reserve judgment until all evidence was heard. Meanwhile, Cassie's team leaned into authenticity. They released a short video of her backstage rehearsing her testimony and encouraged supporters to share the hashtag number #BelieveCassie. Influencers posted side-by-side clips juxtaposing her courtroom demeanor with red carpet smiles from earlier years, highlighting the stark contrast between her public image and private trauma. Even minor details became ammunition. Journalists noted that Diddy's PR lead, rumored to have lunched with TMZ and Shade Room producers, wore a discreet earpiece in court, suggesting constant coordination. Cassie's husband, Alex Fine, in a tailored navy suit, remained expressionless, prompting speculation about his inner thoughts. Every whisper in the hallway, every carefully timed camera flash fed tabletop discussions on cable news panels and viral TikToks. But it wasn't all scripted. Independent bloggers broke down courtroom audio, isolating Judge Subramanian's off-the-record admonishment, "This isn't how trials work," and turned it into a viral soundbite. In response, Diddy's lawyers filed a motion requesting that side comments not be used in social media clips. Cassie's attorneys countered with a freedom of press argument. The result? A non-stop carousel of spin. One side plastered headlines proclaiming defense smacks down prosecutors, while the other trended with Cassie's courageous testimony. Meanwhile, neutral observers found themselves buried under competing narratives, each polished to sway sentiment before jurors even entered the deliberation room. This PR skirmish matters because in high-profile trials, public perception seeps into the courtroom. Jurors may be instructed to avoid media, but whispered buzz can't be fully contained. As we move forward, remember, for every legal maneuver inside these walls, there's a parallel strategy unfolding online, where the battle for hearts and minds rages every second of every day. Behind the courtroom doors, whispers rattled like loose floorboards. Insiders claim Diddy's team drafted undisclosed escort scripts, coaching witnesses on exactly what to say and what to omit. Leaks on fan forums detail text exchanges in which Combs allegedly vetted every message, insisting on perfect phrasing before it went to his defense. None of these so-called revelations has surfaced in official filings. Take it with a grain of salt. Yet the mere possibility of coach testimony keeps both sides on edge. Imagine a juror scrolling their phone during recess, stumbling on a hot take about witness tampering. Few things undermine faith in a fair trial faster. Social media sleuths even comb through courtroom live streams for off-mic comments, convinced they've heard defense counsel cue a witness with a barely audible prompt. Others pore over security camera feeds, hunting for exchanges in the hallway that might reveal secret meetups between attorneys and spectators. Again, unconfirmed, but impossible to ignore. Then there's chatter about additional accusers on deck, ready to testify later in the week. Some claim these witnesses will corroborate Cassie's account of late-night freak-off parties. Others insist they'll offer more salacious details. Whether any of them ever step up to the stand remains to be seen. In a trial, this high-profile rumor can become fact simply by repetition. And with each unverified story, the courtroom's mythology grows. Was today's folder ambush part of a larger strategy? Are we witnessing the tip of an iceberg of undisclosed evidence? Until hard proof emerges, all we have are whispers, but they echo loudly in a case where every secret matters.